We're here now, present in this moment, in every moment at all times, excited to hear what you have going on. Before you go there, we want to remind you that at all times, what you have going on in your physicality, what you have going on in your experience of your own question answer dance is at all times you're doing. So is the place of your focus when you have the experience of that brings you variety, and so it is the place of your tipping point to the place of unfocus, to where you can feel everything that you chose from at the time of experiencing variety. And as we go into these topics of abundance, these topics of money, of everything that shows to you success, anything that you have going on that you're excited to see more and more of, or something that you're ready to switch, we're thrilled for this unfolding and for upgraded experience that you're having in moments by moment experience of your physical existence. And so we're excited to hear what is on your mind. Go ahead.
Hi, Weola. So I have, it's like two things, but obviously they're very combined. One is inspired spending, and then the other one is buyer's remorse. And I'm really curious about the dynamic there, where I will sometimes become so inspired to just purchase something, for someone else even, and then, or it's for myself, or, whatever. And I get so inspired in the moment, and I just know that there's a purpose for it. I don't even care about the money. I just do it. And then what is going on when we feel that little bit of like, we wake up the next day and we're like, oh, should I have bought that? Should I have done that? And I want to clean up my own vibration around knowing that when I spend in an inspired moment, that it will come back to me and I don't have to worry about it. I want to let go of ever having like buyer's remorse. So I'm just wondering what you can speak about on that.
If you're experiencing buyer's remorse, your purchase was not inspired. Your desire for that purchase to be inspired was convinced. In other words, you convinced yourself that your purchase is inspired. But if your purchase is really so inspired, so easy, flows with, regardless of what comes through, regardless of sometimes what you have in your bank account or what you were saving up in your bank account to come through and be spent on this particular thing. In other words, you never look back if something came from that place of inspiration, if something came from that place of such ease and satisfaction where you do not look back. Your inspired purchase means that you never look back. Your inspired purchase means that you do not have even a tiny bit of buyer's remorse. Your inspired purchase means that you have done it, and then if you have payments on it, you'll do it. If you spend the money, it will replenish. If the money is supposed to come, it will come through. In other words, you never really look back if your purchase was really inspired. So what you want to look into is to see, are you convincing yourself that this is inspired action? Are you convincing yourself into inspiring the purchase? Or are you really, truly at such ease, at such place of purchase that you just feel so great and you do not look back? Those moments are very easy to identify, and your buyer's remorse that sometimes shows up tells you that you sometimes have a moment of trying to find your way around it. In other words, sometimes you can get yourself to be excited about something, but that feeling of ease that you're talking about, of not looking back on something that you're purchasing, comes with such clarity that it's not followed by any kind of wobble on that topic.
And that's what's perplexing to me, because I truly feel in the moments that I feel inspired to purchase something, I let myself get to the place where it's almost like there's nothing else I could possibly do. Like I must buy this thing or I must get this thing because it feels so good. And so I just don't, and it doesn't happen all the time that I have buyer's remorse, but maybe it's like you're saying, maybe it's just a couple of times where maybe it wasn't so inspired. I don't know. I really feel like I find the ease and the inspiration very clearly. So I make the purchase. And then there's just some times when maybe I just think, I just question, should I have done that? And I want to stop questioning because I know that when I spend my money in an inspired way, it will return. It will come back. And there's no shortage. And I know that. So I guess I'm really asking for why does that little bit of like hesitation ever come after the fact?
So we are going to tell you again what we just said, because the first time around you opened it and then came back with very similar sentiment, and it's okay. Sometimes you need to hear things a couple of times, and we love this game when we sometimes get so blunt with you, so direct, so easy. Your part of buyer's remorse that you feel after inspired purchase, it's still part of the purchase, which means that your purchase was not inspired because otherwise you would not have the remorse. Inspiration and remorse are of various vibrations, and even though it feels to you that one day you were inspired and the next day you felt remorse about it, it's all part of the same purchase because it pertains to the feeling about that particular purchase. In other words, every sentiment that you have about purchase, regardless when did you buy it, it's still part of that purchase. You may have bought a house after a certain amount of time, looking back into the house, having sentiment of appreciation or not so much appreciation. You can buy a car, you can buy anything that you have that way, but what you're experiencing is constantly now. So if you have bought something and then felt inspired at that moment, that was easy. And then if you come back the next moment and you feel a remorse, you're still having the part of that experience. Even though it felt easy, overall it does not feel good at that particular moment. In other words, when you feel true inspired action, you never ever look back. In other words, you are just experiencing it at that place of ease and satisfaction. But we want to bring you to the place of, you brought up a very important word, like, I must have this, and you're so excited that you must have this. This excitement that you often talk about is still in a vibration of a little bit of resistance. In other words, observe, choose, clarity of what you're wanting, and then from that place, allowing yourself to release that wanting into discovery. You see, your excitement about clarity of what you want sometimes can be mistaken by receiving it into your experience. And as you are having these experiences, you want to be very clear, because this must feeling is more in a vibration of needing. And we recently talked about the place of what is it that you really need. It's not that you really need much beside a couple of basic things in your physical experience, and then everything else is really you choosing. So if you find this place, I must have it, there is some kind of vibration of observing, choosing, something that is this kind of little wobble around they're happening, and you want to find the ease around that. You want to find satisfaction about it. You don't want to buy something because you have to. You don't want to buy something because you need to. You don't want to buy something because you don't want to put yourself in an active place of something that's survival-like, because those are the only things that are really necessary. Your place for food, your place for shelter, and a couple of other basic necessities. You do not have to make something to become your necessity in order to have it. You can have the clear idea about that excitement of having it, and allow that through your place of question and answer easily to come to that place when you feel so inspired to go and take care of that none of that remorse ever comes into play. In other words, you purchase it and then you enjoy your purchase. You purchase it and you enjoy your purchase. You purchase it and you enjoy your purchase. Kosta and Armand have just recently, just last week, bought their first car together, and this came on the heels of this very interesting experience of the place of really wanting the car. Because they've been spending more time in Miami Beach for about 6 months now, and as they were experiencing more and more life here, but they were still traveling in and out, they still kept their New York City lifestyle when it comes to transportation. They would occasionally rent a car, they would ask their friends when necessary, they would have the family member pick them up for family gatherings, they would use taxi or Uber every time they could. In other words, they kept it very simple, very non-committal. And then as they finished a lot of their travels, just recently they have realized that they will spend most of their winter here. And the day after that realization, the day after they came back from the last trip, Kosta had a thought that he wanted to have a car. He wanted to have a car to get him places, to tennis tournaments. He did not want to ask family and friends anymore. He did not want to go and depend on variety of prices for rental cars or for Ubers. He just wanted to have it very easy. But so far, he had these thoughts that it's going to be maybe not so easy to park or not so easy to find the appropriate vehicle. And at that day of ease and satisfaction about having a new car, as he brought that question up, Armand said, but we really do not need a car. And Kosta said, I know that we do not really need a car, but I really want it. I really want it to be so easy. I want to depend only on us whenever we want to go to places. And this story about this beautiful unfolding came out in very few short steps, which this synchronicity of a friend being around and saying that the parking across can be easily rented on a very small yearly fee. So that took care of the parking. And then looking for a car that's more expensive, and this less expensive car coming through the experience of a rental, and Kosta being super excited about it, and Armand experiencing it as well and saying this is it, and them ended up buying a car on a credit card with so much ease. And not thinking that everything keeps falling into the place. You see, we're bringing this as just one of the examples because it's a recent example on a purchase that was so easy and satisfying, but clear in this place of not needing something to happen, but just pure magic of ease. Inspired purchase that now comes with so many benefits, and there is nothing really to look back on. So when you're having those easy moments of something that you maybe even wanted for quite some time, and now that it's happening and you feel like there is not going to be any kind of remorse afterwards, those are those moments of inspirations that you want to follow.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It's the difference between the wanting and the needing. Let go of the need, allow yourself to want, and then it just becomes so much easier. That was great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sometimes, based off of the context that you operate with in terms of especially having something that it's not necessity. But once you know that necessity is only few things and that everything else is the choice, there is no necessity for you to justify your wanting. Only in justifying of your wanting will you get yourself to the place of making yourself believe like you need something. It's okay for you to desire. You cannot not desire. It's okay for you to want. You cannot not want. In other words, allow yourself to be easy about it. You do not have to get yourself to put this decision to be equal in your decision if in drinking water, or equal in your decision in feeding yourself, or equal in your decision on having the roof above your head. In other words, those are some of those basic elements that are even those so easily, naturally taken care of. Most having that experience already, and allowing yourself really to find that soft spot once you have so clearly identified what is it, that clarity of your wanting. You caught the wave of it and then released those last remaining parts of needing or even that wanting, and then allow it to your experience. There is a promise that you will never ever feel buyer's remorse after that. Really
I love
excellent
it.
conversation.
I love it. I love it.